I don't know when we're gonna get an English version of this trailer, so guess we're doing the analysis now. But before we start, the obligatory spoiler warning. I don't really know what's gonna end up being spoiled by this, and depending on how much you care about spoilers if you're going into this game without having played the original Xenoblade 1, your mileage may vary. There are several shots from cutscenes that are after really big plot twisty points in the story, but the vast majority of them are extremely out of context, to the point where you would not be able to tell any of the big plot developments just by seeing those scenes. However, there are a couple more scenes that are a bit spoilery, so I'm just going to try to avoid talking about the cutscenes, because if you played the original game, you know what these scenes are. If you haven't, this is all new to you, and it's probably out of context enough where you're not getting spoiled too much. I'm mostly just going to talk about the gameplay and the other aesthetic sort of things. However, once we get into Future Connected, the gloves will come off. That's going to be spoilers for the entire Xenoblade series. At the same time as the big 6-minute trailer, Nintendo of Japan also uploaded 2 smaller 1-minute-ish trailers, but those are more just normal TV or online commercial style things, and as far as I can tell, all the footage in those, besides promotional, big, ominous text on the screen things, was just chopped up stuff from the bigger trailer, so they're not worth talking about. What is worth talking about, though, is the Japanese Xenoblade Twitter account, because leading up to the posting of these trailers, it had also been trickling a bit more information. On April 27th, it posted bios for a bunch of important characters. They consisted of the highest resolution version of the character's renders we've gotten so far, 2 screenshots of the character, and a little blurb about the character, including their Japanese voice actor. So, we got Shulk, Fiora, Ryne, Dunban, Charlotte, Melia, and Ricky. Not really a big deal. A lot of these screenshots we hadn't seen before, and they're nice. Probably the biggest thing to note is that we got a much better look at Juju in one of the Charlotte ones, and yeah, that sure looks like an HD Juju. The next day, on the 28th, it posted 2 tweets talking about nice views, and the way they demonstrated that was by taking screenshots of a bunch of secret areas throughout the regions of Bionis, and yeah, it was some more screenshots, and it was like, hey, cool, the environments look good. Of course they look good, it's a Xenoblade game. Then on the 29th, we got our first substantial not graphics related thing, because that tweet talked about the music, and more specifically the fact that there is a toggle between the old and new soundtracks, so if you don't like the remix or remade tunes, you can swap back to the old one. In addition to that, you can also change it on a field versus battle basis, so there are actually 2 switches, one for field music and one for battle music. No idea where cutscenes would go. My guess would be that they would go with field music unless a battle theme would be playing in the cutscene, in which case that battle theme would go with whatever you set the battle toggle to, but that's nice. Obviously, they're not going to just have a drop-down list of all 90 songs and let you choose on a case-by-case basis, but this is a reasonable amount of customization. This also confirms dual audio, interestingly, in the Japanese version. So this is the first time in the Xenoblade series where Japanese players will get to experience the English dub of the game, if for some reason they don't like the Japanese version. On the 30th, we got a bit of side quest related info. The first tweet was just showing off the quest screen. As far as I can tell, it looks like an HDified version of how the quest looked in Xenoblade 1. The list looks a little bit better, I guess, just aesthetically wise. But then is the cool part. It does confirm that you can set active quests as in Xenoblade 2, and it says if you set it, it will guide you to your destination. If you enlarge the minimap, you can see that there'll be a blue exclamation point where your destination is, and there'll be a trail of blue dots leading you to that way. So it's not physically on the ground leading you, but basically they incorporated Xenoblade X's follow ball into Xenoblade 2's normal quest tracking system, so yeah, this is going to make a lot of the really bad quests a lot better. We can also get confirmation that there are going to be yellow dots on the minimap. I believe that this is going to be unnamed NPCs, or if not unnamed, ones that you can't talk to, like ones that will just have a text bubble hovering over their head and you don't have to walk up to and press A next to. Following on from that, they showed that the Colony 6 reconstruction menu appears to be visible at any point from the main menu, which is just some really nice quality of life. Then it also went into the Affinity Chart and didn't show off much interesting. It was just like, yep, this is where this person is, where they go, a bit of information about them, like their age, their race, that kind of thing. But that little blue tab, you can see people's trade items from the Affinity Chart. So already, trading has gotten so much more useful. And you don't always have to keep a tab of the wiki or something open to look up where you can trade for stuff. The last tweet of that day was just confirming officially fashion gear, which we'd seen in the previous trailer. Of course they used shirtless Dunban to show it off, because who wouldn't? And it was also like, yep, not only is there fashion gear, but there's also a fashion gear weapon slot. And that's basically it. And then the only other tweets after that were just, hey look, Nintendo of Japan uploaded these videos for us. And I think we could finally start talking about those videos. Throughout the trailer, you can hear a bit more of the new versions of Engage the Enemy and Gower Plain than we'd heard before, as well as our first looks at Frontier Villages theme and You Will Know Our Names. I like them. Yeah. It opens basically how you'd expect it to at this point. There's some Shulk and Ryne looking out at the Mechonis from the kneecap, there's some of the intro, there's some of the attack on Colony 9, Metalface doing a stabby cuts into the title card again, and then we get another character montage. It's basically just going over the same characters that were posted on Twitter. You get a couple scenes of them with some of their lines of dialogue. I can't read Japanese, so there's something above the names, and I believe it changes for each character, so it's probably some sort of title, like Fiora, Shulk's childhood friend, Ryne, Shulk's other childhood friend, Dunban, very sexy, stuff like that. It then goes into straight up scenery porn as we get some new angles on locations that we'd seen before and some locations we're seeing for the first time in HD now. There's a bit more Bionis Leg, some Colony 6 exterior, more Fallen Arm, more Machna Forest, some Aerith Sea, some Alchemoth, and even a little bit of Sword Valley and Prison Island. Then we get the battle segment where we can finally see exactly what some of this stuff that we saw in the previous trailer actually means. Battlestart Affinity works pretty much as expected, and since the entire party is the same level this time, we can see that this Mechon, which is 3 levels higher than them, has a yellow tag, which is what would be expected from the original game, so it looks like the level scaling system is in place to some degree. They might have eased up a bit on the penalties, they might have kept them as harsh as they were before, I don't know, but it does seem to still exist. We can see that there are 4 slots each for buffs and debuffs next to every party member, so we can now see a lot more of what's affecting our characters, as opposed to the original game which only had 1 slot for each and cycled through them. And then, this section is largely just a primer on the combat system for the uninitiated, since, again, 10-year-old game, a lot of people are playing this for the first time, and this allows us to see what the exclamation points on the arts do. We see Shulk run to the side of the Mechon, a chance will pop up above the arts palette, and then the exclamation point shows up on Slit Edge. So it turns out that I was correct. This is for your conditional arts, and it will show up whenever one becomes active. We can see Shulk run around to the back of this Ardun, Slit Edge pops up, it goes away when he runs to the back, but then there's another chance as backslash pops up. Then we can see both Slit Edge and Air Slash going off at the same time, and then switching to backslash as he goes behind again. And then we can finally see Break, Topple, and Daze. And we can see that the same bars from Xenoblade 2 will pop up above and to the left of the enemy's tag. They'll drain down as the timer runs out, and you can restore it by applying the next stage of the combo. We then see that when Ryne topples the enemy, a chance shows up and Shaker Edge gets the exclamation point. So it's not just for positional based arts, this chance thing exists for conditional arts of any sort. We can then see a chain attack fighting a Mechon in Sword Valley, and instead of going for the damage combo, they're instead showing off the fact that you can do a Break, Topple, Daze combo. We also see where enemy buffs and debuffs will be located. As expected, it is on the top right of the HP bar, but instead of doing one scrolling down bar like in Xenoblade 2, because there's a much bigger buff and debuff system than in that game, it's just the same icons as the party members. However, something very interesting happens, because when Ricky topples this Mechon, some purple spikes will show up around the HP tag. And we'll see this later, because Final Marcus makes an appearance in this trailer, and his tag has the same spikes. Yeah, you can see where I'm going with this. There's now a visual indicator on the enemy's HP tags if it can deal spike damage. Now, it looks like topple spikes will only show up once the enemy is toppled, but now you can see at a glance whether or not something has a spike, so you don't run up to something, immediately eat shit because you don't have anti-spike stuff or Minato Purge prepared, and can prepare around that. Amazing quality of life change. Next, we can see how in-battle visions work. It's basically the same, but updated to match the new UI, and the floating vision tag as the timer ticks down is put in the upper right-hand corner instead of up top, because that's where the enemy HP bar is now. But more importantly, we can see the vision tag shatter, raising the entire party's tension, and flames behind the angry portraits are back. This was the thing that I was actually worried about. I'm weird. It then just shows off a montage of some fighting. We can see more level scaling with the level tags. It looks like the margins for the different tag colors are exactly the same. We can see the little embellishments on the tags for bosses and unique monsters. They are different from the original game, but that pattern should be very familiar if you have beaten it before. In that, we also get a couple glimpses of controlling Ryne and Charlotte. All the arts we'd expect from them are there. It doesn't look like their movesets were changed, but we can see Ryne get a chance for while down once Shulk breaks the enemy, and for Charlotte, she just straight up has an exclamation point over Metal Blast. She's fighting a flying enemy. That art has increased crit chance against flying enemies, so it looks like any conditional art effect will have exclamation points, even ones that are just based on enemy types. So things that are based on fighting Mechon even would have that. Ricky has one of those. It then just goes into even more scenery porn, because we got some walking around Colony 6, some Satoral Marsh at night, thankfully, and some Alchemoth, where it shows off the landmark discovery and what it will look like on that. We can see the characters all gaining EXP, AP, and SP as expected, and then it shows off discovering a secret area. Again, new looking tag from the original game, not really a massive deal there, but we can see another very familiar pattern behind the secret area text, and there is also what appears to be a new Minato symbol. This looks like it's an autosave icon, so it's possible that there will be an autosave feature every time you reach a landmark, and it might be you can load your previous save or your previous autosave in case you screw up really badly. That would be my guess. They then decide to completely scare off the faint of heart who might be considering playing this game, thinking it's all fun and games, because, hey look, it's Territorial Rotbart with his level shown. Then there's the Torta unique monster on Bionis leg. Then they just straight up show one of the super bosses, and like, hey look, a level 100 enemy, that's gonna be tough. It's not like the enemies go 20 levels higher than that or anything. And then they show the jump scare spider too. You could see a red item orb in the background, so it looks like, yeah, that still works the same. And there's a Brog unique monster. I believe that might be the one in Colony 9. And it shows a gold treasure chest, getting the items from that. It looks basically like a graphically updated version of the previous game, as expected. We then see that one Shulk and Fiora heart-to-heart. We can see that screen. We can see a bit of the heart-to-heart. It also shows a glimpse of the Charlo Ricky heart-to-heart in Aerith C, which, unfortunately, it looks like they are not voiced. This was one of the really big things that I wanted, and unfortunately it looks like that didn't come true. It's very, very possible it was for storage concerns because the whole 2 OST thing, or because they just couldn't get all the voice actors back, which is why only Shulk and Melia of the original party appear to be showing up in Future Connected. There's then a bit of menu. The skip travel menu is shown, and when you select different areas, it looks like it will directly show where on the Bionis each one is, in addition to that being shown up in the little blurb when you first reach an area, so that's cool. You can now better see where you are at any point in the game. Other than that, it just looks like the skip travel menu from the original game, but it's better. They also skip travel into Tephra Cave. We can see what looks like the autosave icon again, as well as the same Minato loading symbol from the original game, so that can't just be a new loading symbol, it has to be something else. I can really only think of autosave. It then shows off a bit more questing related stuff. Nothing really big, this is all really early game Colony 9 type things, so yeah, we can see more of the Affinity Chart. It looks basically exactly like the Affinity Chart from the original game. This is one of the things that was the least changed, actually. And then there's just some cool more cutscene things, some cryptic glances of Prison Island, there's a bit of Zord, we can see Vanguard from the back, and very importantly, we can see, yes, those are in fact the Havres, and we get HD Dixon for one shot, which is more than I could really ask for. Some more scenes flash by. There's some really out of context spoiler stuff that's only on for like 2 frames, so you can't tell what's going on in the first place. There's a little bit of Yaldabaoth. Alvis gets his requisite 3 frames of not actually getting to do anything cool on screen. There's some character shots, and then it just goes, hey, the game's coming out. This is where I'm about to go into Future Connected, but before then, the Japanese website was updated a ton. Remember those 4 tabs? Well, they're there now, and they're all filled out. In addition, the music player was expanded. It now does include the mysterious track 3 from before, as well as confirming that it is in fact the Future Connected battle theme. So let's really quickly go over all the new tabs besides the Future Connected one. The character tab is just character bios. It's the same 7 characters that were in the Twitter posts, except this time there's a button where you can hear a voice line from them. It looks like the bio itself is different from the one in the tweet. It also lists the race, gender, age, and height of each character. All of this information has obviously been known from the original game, but again, new players. Melia and Ricky's ages are even listed as question mark. Interesting. We also get 2 screenshots pertaining to each character. Some of these are old, most of them are new. For the most part, it's just, hey look, that's a cutscene we haven't seen in HD yet. Except one of Dunban's is that one amazing shot from the opening where he, Dixon, and Mumcar are all looking at the camera and they're making completely different yet equally meme-worthy faces. It's a couple frames before the best one, but it's still great. It's our first glimpse at HD Mumcar, so can you really complain? The next tab is battle related and largely is just another tutorial for the battle system. However, there are actually 3 links to YouTube videos that are unlisted on the Nintendo Japan channel that show off some different aspects of the battle system. They're not overly interesting, but there is some stuff that I do want to talk about. In one of them, we can see on the minimap that there is a path leading out from where the player is, and this one is orangey yellow instead of blue like for a quest, so it looks like the quote-unquote follow ball thing will also be present for leading you towards story objectives. You can hear snippets of a couple battle themes, and this one's pretty unfortunate because the last clip, the one showing off visions, is of a boss fight, and it shows you breaking the vision tag. You get to hear some of the new One Who Gets in Our Way, that's nice. But unfortunately, it does also show that Vision Reacts will still override battle themes, and specifically boss themes, so that's kind of unfortunate. What I hope happens is that when it overrides a theme, it will play once and then not loop. Or, for more unique battle themes like Tragic Decision, Unfinished Battle, that kind of thing, it won't override them at all. Anyway though, we do get to see Shulk activate the Minato while fighting a Mechon, and he gets 3 chances on 3 different Minato arts. This is for Enchant, Buster, and Shield. Enchant and Buster makes sense, he's fighting a Mechon, both of these are at their most useful, and then Shield is showing up because it looks like that the boss in the vision is going to be using a talent art, so this is the right time to use it to break the vision tag. The next tab is exploration based, and it shows a bit of a montage of characters walking around different areas, nothing we haven't seen yet, except for the fact that in the Aerith Sea segment, Shulk is shown wearing the new swimming gear from the concept art, so either this replaced the swimsuits, or this is just straight up a new piece of gear. It's possible that instead of having all the swimsuits look the same, each character now has a second set of swimsuits, and different swimsuit gear will use different models. It also talks about secret areas, the quest system, trading, the Affinity Chart, and then it also talks about heart-to-hearts, which isn't really a big deal. It just confirms that some heart-to-hearts you need to deepen the relationship, and that fighting together and giving gifts increases that. It also explains equipment a little bit, and we get to see Ricky holding the dead fish biter. Yep, it's got its own model now. And then it also shows one screenshot of gem crafting, which looks more or less the same. Lastly, there's a video explaining unique monsters, which of course shows the party getting obliterated by Territorial Rotbart. You get to hear a little more of the new Gara Plain theme, and we can also see on the minimap that there is still the yellow trail. It looks like they're doing a story objective, and there's also a bunch of red exclamation marks nearby. I finally think I figured out what the different colors mean. Red signifies a quest you have yet to accept. It's possible that there might be a different icon, a different color, or some detail indicating that's a timed quest, and surprise quests would obviously not have marks since they're supposed to be a surprise. Blue exclamation marks are the destination. This is where you go, the NPC you need to talk to completely finish the quest, and red is things that are part of an intermediate thing, like slay X enemies. It will mark every enemy of this type. Xenoblade 2 did this as well. Find this item. If it's a red item orb, it'll mark that off. Presumably things like monster quests will just mark things red, and then once you're done, it's done. Or it could also be the difference between generic quests and more specialized quests, like ones where a named NPC tells you to do thing versus monster quest, item quest. Maybe those are red and the NPC ones are blue. Two different possibilities. It's probably one of the two. Okay, it is future connected time now. The trailer itself does not spoil the base game. However, some supplemental material sort of does. The Japanese website itself will say this contains spoilers for the main game and make you click OK in order to even view that tab of the website. So my discussion will involve spoilers, but you can go watch the trailer. It itself doesn't directly spoil anything. We're gonna bounce between the website tab and the trailer just because this site explains the plot. This is largely just confirming stuff I already knew, and then it'll also shed a bit more detail on some things that are in the trailer. As for the plot, it says 1 year has passed since the final battle. So that means that this takes place 6 months after the last cutscene of the game, 6 months after Fiora comes back, not a year after she comes back, a year after Zanza has been defeated. There's peace in the world, all races work together for reconstruction, and in the midst of this, Shulk suggests to Melia to go visit the lost capital of Alchemoth. And while they're there, they get shot down by something. It does specify that they're on junks if that was ever in doubt, and it crashed in the Bionis shoulder. It also explains a little bit about the area. Hey, this is the Bionis shoulder. You never went here in the main game. This place is new. And it also specifies that it is a floating island, which is interesting. It didn't fall in the sea with the rest of the remains of the Bionis, at least as seen in the original ending. It's possible that that might be changed, so it might show the shoulder newing off and going somewhere else. Or it could just be when the Bionis collapsed, most of it collapsed, but the left shoulder and Alchemoth just kind of stayed up there where they were. So like Alchemoth hasn't moved from where the top of the Bionis used to be, basically. That actually kind of makes sense, especially because Alchemoth was always floating. Aerith Sea had those floating landmasses. It's possible that this isn't something hugely big. It's just that, yeah, the shoulder had always been made out of the same floaty stuff as an Aerith Sea. It was just supported by the rest of the Bionis. But now that that's gone, it's just kind of still up there. There's also a few more environmental screenshots, just like, hey, this sure is the Bionis shoulder. It looks a bit different from the one in the original game, but it's still the Bionis shoulder. There's a nice sunset shot, and it shows off one of the towns, confirming that Hom's NPCs do exist here, so it looks like all the Bionis races are going to be present. Moving on to the trailer, we get some hints of new music. There's the one song that was in the previous trailer for Future Connected, and at least one new one. It opens up with the exact same cutscene that was shown off before, with Shulk and Melia looking at the Telethia and looking out over the shoulder after Junks crashes. The Telethia looks like it's flying to Alchemoth, which makes sense. Even after the fall of Zanza, the remaining Telethia are probably still holed up in there, like they are in the main game. We then see Melia meeting the two new Napon characters, and then them, alongside Shulk and Melia, walking off down the path towards a different area of the shoulder. It also looks like one of the same guideposts from Bionis Leg has been added there too. At least I think it's added. I don't think it was in the original one. Anyway, we get a shot of the rift, and hey look! I called something else about this before Future Connected was even revealed. Tyrea's in the game. Cool. She also has a young High-Entia NPC with her. This looks to be heavily based off of the generic young High-Entia boy model, but based on clothing and stuff, people have guessed that this is specifically Teelin. Now he's important because he's part of a quest after Mechanist Core, where he talks about how much he wants to try and find a way to revert Telethia. The secret files confirmed that this is impossible, so he might be like the Milton/Mikhail of this, tagging along with the party to try and figure out how to do this, and then ultimately realizing, no, it's impossible, I have to let people go. He seems to be strained here, which might suggest that the party killed a Telethia of someone he was close to, or he's just in danger and potentially lost something like his research notes. We do not see Tyrea either fighting alongside or against the party here. My guess is going to be they're going to atom her. Some sort of disagreement or desire to test herself makes her fight the party, but then, later on, possibly to help protect Teelin, she does join up with them. We then see the scene inside Alchemoth, which had been hinted at from screenshots before, where Shulk is protecting Melia and the pink Napon is protecting the green one from a monster shooting a beam. More on that later. We can see more of the ruined Alchemoth. There's then this new character who we get the ominous leg shot of. Can't really tell much about them at all, other than they seem to be wearing High-Entia armor and they are carrying a sword. This is not Tyrea. From what I can tell, this is a completely new character who I'm guessing is going to be some sort of villain. Then, moving back to the Alchemoth scene, we see Shulk activating his new replica Minato, where the gray thing in the art ring has vanished, and instead, there's this very unstable looking pulse of blue energy. We then see Melia spinning her staff and getting that ready, and the duo, with the Napon presumably just out of shot, are facing down this enemy. This is a recolored Infernal Guldo from the Land of Moritha in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Now, it's practically a given at this point that the ending of Definitive Edition will be changed to better incorporate stuff from 2 in it, but this doesn't necessarily mean it's just a Guldo that flopped over from that side of the rift, or that we're back on Earth and that's where Shulk's new universe ended up in. Because the Guldos had blue highlights instead of red in 2, and that was important because they explicitly had a core crystal. So, either this one does not have a core crystal, or it's somehow tied to Alvis's because his is red. I kind of doubt Alvis would be making Guldos, even just to, like, test Shulk, even if he was just, like, trying to get his attention about this new High-Entia enemy. So, this could very well be some human from Earth pre-experiment. This could very well be a Guldo. This could very well be tying directly into Xenoblade 2. Now, something is going to tie into 2. Is it Future Connected? I don't know. The ending of the main game will definitely tie in. Future Connected doesn't necessarily need to tie into 2, it just needs to tie into some other Xeno game, potentially one that hasn't even been revealed yet. So, this could be a corrupted human, this could be something completely different that's just using the Guldo model, or it could be some sort of cross-universal thing that's taking the form of a Guldo, even. There are a lot of possibilities. People have even suggested that this is the backstory of the Ova from Xenoblade X, which is explaining how this parasite that takes over creatures came to know a Telethia on its old world in the past. the website explains a little bit more about this. These new enemies are the Kirino beasts. Not only are they strong, but they have the ability to attract other nearby enemies and cause them to attack the party. We also get a bit of an expanded screenshot next to this explanation, showing off a scene outside of Alchemath that we'd seen before. We'd seen this Taos enemy after it was defeated, but here we can see Shulk, Melia, the two Napon, and Teelin are there, so it looks like the party was running into Alchemath, ran into him under attack, and rescued him. Presumably, he was going there to research the Telethia more. So, this Guldo is the big theory thing about Future Connected here. Anyway, the next segment is going to be a little bit of fighting, but before we talk about that, I'm going to elaborate on the two new Napon characters, because the website gives little bios for them. The green one is Kano, and the pink one is Nene. Kano is young, but still shows the power of an adult in battle. He longs for his father, aims to be a hero, presumably like him. He's shy, but he's still good with the ether gun his father had left him. So his weapon is not a club. It actually lights up and shoots like a gun. And also we get this amazing shot of him. He's a lad. I like this guy. And then Nene is Kano's adoptive mother, who is also a strong fighter. She is wearing armor and has... It looks like she's holding basically a cricket bat with a Napon design on it that she's going to smack people with. So she seems like she's going to be the tank of the party. It also explains that the Naponger Surveyor team is going to be hidden around the Bionis shoulder, and if you fulfill their wishes, they will become friends, and they will be willing to assist you in battle. If they cooperate with the party, they'll be able to use powerful special moves. So, this will make a bit of sense in a minute. Moving on to the battle scene, we can see that levels will not start from 1 like Torna did. It's confirmed you can play Future Connected without playing the main game, but levels will start high, as befitting a party who has already felled Zanza. Because we can see Shulk, Melia, and confirmed party member Kano at level 66 fighting a level 66 enemy. So unless they do what Torna did, where you gain like 3 levels for every boss you beat, you're gonna already start at a pretty high level. Anyway, you're controlling Shulk here, so we can't see anything about what Kano does, but Shulk has all 8 of his normal arts, and the Minato icon is still his talent art, so it's a replica Minato. Rest in peace, Turnstrike. You will not be forgotten, but it does not look like it's going to be coming back here. It has been confirmed, though, that Shulk has lost his visions, which makes sense. He no longer has any of Albus's power. Anyway, though, Melia has what appears to be a fire elemental above her head, so it looks like her playstyle hasn't changed up too much as well. And also next to her are a bunch of yellow-green Napon who are not Kano, all wearing explorer outfits, and some of them are carrying flags. These are the Naponger Surveyors that I was talking about. The name is sort of a play on Super Sentai team names, and it looks like they'll follow you around and help out in battle once you meet and recruit them. As fitting of this, the party gauge, instead of displaying a chain attack symbol, now displays a Napon symbol, so it looks like instead of chain attacks, you can use the Napongers to do some sort of big thing, which we'll see in a minute. It then transitions from fighting this random Iluka to fighting an Arachno unique monster. Shulk and Melia are 2 levels higher, Kano is 1 level higher, but he's about to level up again. And Melia is about to summon Aqua before she gets hit by this blowdown attack. We can also see some more Napongers here, so it looks like these guys will literally just show up in every fight, but they might do things like blades doing passive buffs and that kind of thing, but they'll only really shine when you use their special attack. It then shows Shulk meeting a couple Napongers on the field. You can see Kano here as well doing an idle animation, so yep, he sure is a party member. And then we can finally see the Naponger's special attack. Unlike chain attacks in this game, which take place on the field as usual, this opts for the Smash/Xenoblade 2 chain attack thing of transporting the enemies into this weird limbo, you're getting screwed realm. The enemy here is an Arachnopod and an Arachno with a weird purple halo over it. This is likely one of these corrupted enemies. But anyway, we can see a damage bonus meter filling up in the lower right hand corner of the screen. No idea how this will work. But the way the Knob Hunters work, this is a very QTE heavy thing, sort of like Xenoblade 2 Blade Specials, but more cinematic, is they will run through the enemy, Territorial Rotbart will chase them, running over the enemy, and then Territorial Rotbart will be running in fear from them, and then they'll all trip, and it looks like Melia was the one who activated it this time because she's like, oh no, are you guys okay? And she does a cute pose. We can also see what happens when Shulk activates this. It might be a different attack though, since they didn't trip. After this, it's a bit of an abrupt transition because, hey look, Tyrea is inside some sort of green barrier, and she's fighting off some corrupted looking enemies. Again, we only see her protecting Teal'c and fighting monsters. No idea if she's an ally or not. Please join the party, Tyrea, please. We then see Shulk and Melia, looks like after dodging the attack from the Guldo, looking up at something. And then we can see the entire party we know of as a fact so far, looking out over Alchemoth from a cliff, and thus the trailer ends. So yeah, we got a massive amount of news here. I'm very excited. Xenoblade. Play Xenoblade, guys. That's it. Until next time, this is Luxin, signing off.